Hello, my name's Claire and I'm from Wiser Property Solutions Ltd, and I've got the lovely Lorraine from LJ Property Inspections with me today. Welcome, Lorraine.
Oh, hi Claire.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for
We
inviting
actually
me.
met at a National Landlord Association meeting, and as soon as I met you I knew that your services would be very good for me and something that I would hopefully like to recommend to my investors. So I thought I'll get you on today just to have a little bit of a chat and find out a little bit more about what you do, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Right, okay, yeah. So I actually started in the property industry in 1991, giving my age away a little bit. But I started as a new homes sales advisor for a company called Gothridge & Sanders, who at the time was actually part of the Tarmac Group.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my sort of first introduction into the industry. I did actually stop and come out of property for a little while my family were young, but then got back into it really at the first opportunity in 2002.
Yeah.
And sort of over the last 18 years, I've done I've always kept in the property industry. So I work for financial advisors in their new build mortgage department. I've worked for an estate agent and developers. I've worked for a legal department in one developer and a sales manager for another. But before I went self-employed, my last role was actually as a valuer and regional manager for an estate agency who actually specialised in part exchange and assisted sales for developers. And then in 2016, I bought my first investment property, and I'm actually now a landlord myself.
Oh, that's great. You've had quite a good varied background within the property sector then.
Yes, yeah, I've always loved property. We've moved quite a lot as well, actually, over the years. So we've always, I love looking at houses and layouts, things like that. So yeah, it's a good industry for me to be in. So I enjoy it. I really do.
Okay, brilliant. So tell me a little bit about the services that you offer in LJ Property Inspections.
So our primary service really are for letting agents. So we will do inventories, check-ins, midterm inspections, check-outs. We also do inspections for developers. So if they've got a part exchange property that they've just bought in and they need somebody to go and have a look at it before they return a retention back to their client, we'll go and have a look at that and sign that off for them. But we'll also do quality assurance for new build developers and also any void inspections on empty properties for housing associations. The skills of an inventory clerk actually are quite transferable. So it does mean that we can sort of apply what we know to other inspections really, and we can tailor make inspections to suit individual requirements as well. So there's a specific need out there, then we can adapt what our templates to suit really.
That sounds great. So again, you've got a wide range of services that you can offer for a wide range of people within the sector then?
Yeah, absolutely, and we have added on as well sort of extra services now that's like viewings, because once you know property and obviously my background, it's quite easy really to do viewings for people. Yeah. Because you're in and out of property, so we do that as well. So yeah, we're always looking to see whether we can add on to our services as well, really.
Yeah, that's great. So can you tell us the main purpose of an inventory?
Well, the main purpose of an inventory is to record the condition and the cleanliness and the contents of a property at the time of the inspection. It's actually the benchmark for ongoing inspections throughout the tenancy, really. So every inspection can always refer back to the inventory. So it needs to be nice and robust, so that you know where your starting point is.
Yeah, that's great. So would we be able to carry out an inventory ourselves, or would you recommend actually using a company, and why would that be?
I don't. Ideally, you would really need an independent party to carry out an inventory,
Yeah.
because they are non-biased. You could do it yourself, but you're likely to be less objective, and you're emotionally attached to the property. So you may have a different view on it. Additionally, I think the main problem that you might have is that if you had a dispute with a deposit at the end of a tenancy, your tenant might actually say that the report was biased. So so it sort of takes that. If you do it yourself, then you've got that risk. If you have an independent party to do it, you're taking that element out of it. So you've got a better ground for dispute really with the tenant at the end.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think there are any things that are actually overlooked in an inventory, and what sort of difference can it make if you do overlook these things?
I think good, clear descriptions of both condition and the cleanliness can be overlooked in an inventory. It's important to note really that for an adjudicator to make a decision in a dispute, it is evidence-based.
Yeah.
So you do need to make sure that the information provided in the inventory is robust enough to give that evidence. And cleanliness can be one of the bigger issues, because that is probably more overlooked than anything really. And it is also one of the things that actually is most common in a dispute at the end of a tenancy.
Yeah, okay. So I've heard you talk about the term betterment before. Can you just go through that for us and just explain what betterment actually is?
Yeah. Well, so betterment actually refers to deposit deductions. So deposit deductions need to be fair and reasonable, and you can't, as a landlord, be in a better position than you were at the beginning of the tenancy.
Yeah.
So if I give you an example, a tenant's in the property, made a hole in the wall because he's hung a picture. At the end of the, say, a 2-year tenancy, the tenant would be expected to fill the hole, sand it down, and overpaint the area of the damage.
Yeah.
What a landlord can't do is then ask the tenant to pay for repainting, or to deduct from the deposit the amount for repainting the whole room, because the room would actually be better than it was at the start of the tenancy, because you have to also take into account fair wear and tear. For a 2-year period, there would be some scuffs, some marks, light marks to a room. So the landlord would be. That's where betterment comes in, because the property would be better. But it can also apply to cleaning. So the landlord can choose to have a property cleaned to a higher standard than at the start of the tenancy. That's not a problem, but what he would deduct from the deposit would have to be proportional to the cleanliness from start to end.
Right.
So otherwise, again, it would be betterment really. It would be cleaner than it would be at the start of the tenancy.
Yeah, and I guess all that's only fair at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It just needs to be fair and reasonable, really. And I think the element of fair wear and tear comes into that, because over the longer the tenancy, the more you have to take into consideration fair wear and tear. If they've been in there for a number of years, then say for like a carpet, for example, there's quite a difference between a flattened pile over somebody walking there over a number of years to a dropped iron or curling tongs, on a carpet where that is obviously damage. Yeah. So there's that difference, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the main areas of concern when you are conducting an inventory?
The inventory needs to be detailed and non-biased. And so it's got to have clear descriptions with good quality photographs. But the other thing we're looking at as well when we're doing an inventory is we're actually checking smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. Yeah. That is part of an inventory process, so that there's any faults that we can refer back to the landlord or managing agent, and also and that, you know, that we're making sure that it's in a good state of repair.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Prior to conducting an inventory for a new tenant, is there anything that you would suggest that a landlord does to a property?
We'd always make sure that the landlord is looking after the compliance side of any property before they get a new tenant in. So we would, you know, so, and again, through the inventory, we check that they've got a valid gas certificate, electrical safety certificate, EPC, and for them to make sure that it's in a good state of repair. What we also say now, as part of our process, is we encourage them to provide us with receipts for any work that's being done or any new items in the property, so that they can be logged with the inventory, and then they're there as evidence if there's a dispute with deposit at the end. It's quite clear then for a landlord to prove that, you know, work has been done, and that it was you know, it was new at the start, really.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, not something that I'd actually heard of before with inventory. So yeah, I do think that's a really good idea. I've heard you talk about an end of tenancy information sheet. What is this, and when should a landlord be giving that to a tenant?
Okay, well, the end of tenancy information sheet is a document that we provide at a check-in and on our pre-checkout visits, and it sets out to the tenant exactly what's expected of them, really, in terms of how they leave the property at the end of the tenancy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it will detail on, you know, what's expected to be cleaned, like windows, you know, skirting boards, you know. We actually set it out really so that it's quite clear. And if we give it to them at the beginning of the tenancy, you know, you can't tell a tenant how to live in a property, but you can certainly cover all bases so that they know what's expected, and that, you know, it always helps in at the end of the tenancy, really, to refer to.
Yeah, I think that's great, because it means that landlord and tenant both know the expectations then, don't they? So
absolutely, and you know, it's communication, really. You know, it's coming back to the beginning, really, where we say, you know, set that benchmark, and if you you know, and set your stall out, really, as you mean to go on. Communication throughout the tenancy, and you know, it should help it go a lot smoother.
that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that you actually offer a periodic inspection, which I will actually be using myself. So can you tell us about the importance of the periodic inspection and the issues that this can help to avoid?
Yeah, okay, so periodic inspection, or a mid-term inspection as it can be known as, is basically an inspection to check on the ongoing condition of the property during the tenancy. So you're looking at the condition. You're also looking at how that property is being managed and cared for by the tenant. So it's also a good opportunity to, and it also is a good opportunity to check for unauthorised occupants, unauthorised pets, smoking, antisocial behaviour. So it's as well as you know, checking the condition. It's sort of getting an insight, really, to the property, and doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I guess it also helps, you know, if there is an issue, then, you know, that can be sorted, you know, within 3 months or something, as opposed to at the end of a 12-month tenancy.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're going in and you notice there's perhaps a damp patch in the corner or some mould in the bathroom, at least then, you know, you can refer that back, and you can take the option, you know, take the opportunity to get it repaired. Otherwise, you know, damp and condensation is one of the worst. You know, if left, then it just makes it a more expensive issue at the end of a tenancy, and then that also will affect the time between your lets, because you're then having to spend time to get trades in to do the work before you can re-let it.
Yeah, again, I know that, you know, a small repair can actually turn into a big repair if it's left. So yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and sometimes it can be something, you know, just a conversation really with the tenant. It may, you know, just to remind them, you know, to, you know, perhaps you need to do this, or, you know, I mean, it's also a good opportunity, I mean, you know, to check the smoke alarms as well, because they should be checking them regularly themselves.
Yeah.
But with a periodic, because you know, you're going in, that is again part of our routine really, is to check the smoke alarms working. But you know, and to just so we can remind them that they need to be doing that as well, and opening windows, a little bit of ventilation. And again, another issue that crops up really, you know, is that they're cooking themselves in the property and not actually letting some air in.
Yeah. That's great. One thing that I particularly like, because obviously I use your services myself, so one thing that I do particularly like is the reporting software that you use. Can you explain a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so we decided that we needed to be paperless. So our reports are all done on handheld devices.
Yeah.
So we can use those to report and take photographs. We do have camera equipment as well, so if we need to back up the report with other photographs, we can do. So it's all integrated, but it allows us to take as many photographs as we want to, really. And basically, again, to go back to what I was saying, to make it a robust inventory. Once we've done a report, that actually gets uploaded to the system, and then it's emailed out to the customers and the tenants, so that they can sign them off online. And the beauty of the reports that we quite like is the fact that you can actually click on a photograph, it will enlarge on, so if you're on your laptop, it will enlarge onto your screen, and you can also zoom in. So you know, you can actually see items a little bit better. Obviously certain lighting conditions can make it difficult, but yeah, it's, you know, it's just, it's so easy really. And you know, you can just log on and view the reports as and when you want. And we can build on those reports as well throughout the process. So you'll just have them all in one place.
One thing I particularly liked was the fact that I could see who'd opened the report and when. You know, so you could see if the tenants looked at it, you could see if the letting agents looked at it. So as a landlord, that just, you know, there's no more, oh no, I haven't seen it, because you can see that that report has been opened and when it was opened.
That's it. It's like its own audit trail, really. I mean, during the COVID-19, when there's been issues with tenants self-isolating or showing symptoms, obviously, you know, we wouldn't be able to have gone into those properties. So we actually started to do self-service reports. Through that system, it meant that a tenant could report issues, or, you know, if the landlord wanted to check on certain things, that actually the tenant could do that, and it could get uploaded to the system. So yeah, it's very, you know, so it's quite a versatile system, and it just is one place to log it all, really.
And you mentioned about the zooming in on the photographs. That was another thing that I did particularly like as well. So yeah, really like that. I know that there have been many issues obviously caused by the COVID pandemic. How has it actually affected your business, and how have you adapted your procedures to meet those needs?
Well, we've reviewed our services in line with the government announcements. So we've done risk assessments, and we have actually set in new procedures, which have sort of varied during the time. Really, the where we're at the moment is that we are still carrying out procedures. We obviously take the safety of our clients and tenants with, you know, seriously. So we're doing social distancing. We're using masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, sanitising wipes. So there is a bit of a process, really, just to minimise transference of the infection, really. So yeah, so we have adapted, really, and you know, we actually went to video calls as well for inspections as well, if that, you know, as part of reviewing the services, really.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any changes in legislation or regulation that you think that as landlords we should be aware of?
Well, it's ongoing, really, legislation. The most recent legislation is the electrical safety standards, and that did cause a little bit of confusion a few weeks ago. It actually came in force for new and renewing tenancies on the 1st of June, but there was a month's grace for landlords to actually get them in place.
Yeah.
So that is the newest legislation. The existing tenancies will need to have the electrical certificate from April next year. But it's things like the MEES, the minimum energy efficiency standards. That's a recent one, and that is an ongoing one. That at the moment the energy rating needs to for a property needs to be E or higher, unless they've got an exemption certificate. But ongoing, that is going to change, and obviously with the government announcement yesterday, with you know, they're obviously keen to get at the energy side of property sorted, really. So I think that is going to push the standards up for the landlord properties as well. But you know, tenant fees ban, that's ongoing. That's, you know, that's still relatively new. You know, so you know, making sure you charge the right amount of deposit for your tenancies. But you know, the government websites actually are actually a good place to go, and obviously you and I are both with the NRLA, and you know, again, that's a really good body to be part of to keep up to date with everything, actually. So I would recommend joining a body such as that, really. Do you think? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've actually been a member of the RLA and the NLA, which are now obviously joining forces. And I like but I do think they are yeah, absolutely fantastic. The amount of times that I've called their services, you know, and they've got such a great advice line. So yeah, I would definitely say, because as you say, legislation, regulation, they change so often in the property sector.
Yeah.
I think you've got your head around something and then something happens and you're not quite sure. So it's always good just to give them a quick call, just to say, is it still this? Do I still need to form? Is it? And yeah, they're always on hand. So yeah, definitely. And like I said, that's actually where we met, wasn't it? At one of those meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, before lockdown.
Yes. Oh yes, before lockdown, obviously. That's great. Thank you so much. I think we've given some fantastic information for all of the landlords and investors out there. And as I said, I actually use your services myself. I had your inventory. I didn't use your inventory in the beginning because I hadn't met you then.
No.
I used someone else for a different inventory. But when my tenant moved out, you actually came and you did the inventory for me. And I do think that if it wasn't for the inventory that you did with all of the fantastic photographs, etc., that if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have been able to get my deposit back from my tenant. So, because obviously there was some damage caused, and the photographs did show the damage caused. And I particularly liked the fact of how you described the cleanliness of the property as well, which, as we both know, wasn't fantastic. But it just meant that I've actually got proof of that. It wasn't me just sort of saying, oh, you know, I don't think it's very clean in here. You know, I'd actually got someone else to go in, completely independent, to go in and actually, you know, state the cleanliness, state the issues, and they were there on screen for her to be able to see herself, which, as I say, meant that I was able to get all of my deposit back. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for your services. Thank you very much. And I do think that obviously if anyone wants to get in touch with you,
you're welcome.
Property inspections, and I'm sure they can find your details if they need to, and I can pop some details in as well. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been fantastic.
And thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed myself.
My pleasure. Okay, take care.
All right, speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.